Welcome to the Salty Investors, episode number 52. Is it?
Three?
53. Shit, who knows? It's one of those. And yeah, how are you this week, Tim?
Yeah, just changing the time, so just trying to get used to it. A bit darker outside,
Yeah,
looking
it's
outside. So
I didn't announce the date. It's Thursday evening, October 19th. For all those regular viewers, I hope this didn't throw you out, all 7 of you. Yeah, so it's Thursday evening, but we'll rip through it anyway.
Yep.
We're professionals. Doesn't matter what time of day it is. We'll handle it.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you lead us off, Tim? What do you got for salt this week?
I assume you've heard of Netflix and chill, but now there's this thing called T-bill and chill. Collecting a 5% coupon seems a bit lowbrow for some. Everyone thinks they're brilliant, but in reality, no one's really great, including myself. There is no shame collecting a coupon. And if you suffer from this affliction, please reread risk adjusted and equity risk premium. Do you come across this problem before? People just love gambling,
Yep. Yeah. There is no equity risk premium, is there? It's gone.
Yeah. Some of those bonds, looking crazy, but yeah. So what are you salty about this week?
Well, look, it's official. Corporate Australia is now a therapeutic safe space. So in the wake of the Voice to Parliament referendum debacle, the National Australia Bank announced it was offering, quote, a range of wellbeing support, including cultural leave for Indigenous colleagues and a dedicated Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander support line. But not to be outdone, KPMG said it will host a series of yarning circles to give Indigenous employees an opportunity to come together and heal in a culturally safe place. KPMG will also offer cultural leave to Indigenous staff if they need it in the wake of the referendum result. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here and suggest if Yes had won, they wouldn't be offering leave to anyone. So I guess now if elections don't go your way, you can get a day off. I mean, look, it's over. Pack it all up. Australia is done.
Yeah, well, I'd love to work in some of these places and tell them beforehand that I'm a libertarian. I'm going to lose every election. So I need a day off after every election. See if I can wing it. But
well, not only that, you need a week because you've got to get over the fact that you've been losing your whole life. You know?
Yeah. Constant loser. So.
I mean, it's condescending, you know. Like it's like, oh my God, the poor fragile Indigenous people will fall apart because I don't know. It's tragic that it's come to this, but here we are.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah. Thomas Sorrell would be, he'd be just livid at all this stuff, thinking, what are you thinking? What are you thinking when you think that Aboriginal people need this? It's a terrible way to treat other people. I'd be a little bit upset.
As therapy. Yeah. I mean, whatever happened to, you're lucky to work here, asshole. Shut the fuck up and do your job. How about that?
Yep.
No.
Oh, well. Probably a good reason
anyway,
not to invest in a lot of these places. Like if,
Well, look what they are, banks. I mean, banks, I mean, they're basically quasi-government entities anyway. I mean, they're useless. Look at their returns on capital these days. I mean, they can barely push 12%, something like that.
Yep.
And that's leveraged. Well become a quasi-government institution.
Remember, that's leveraged as well.
Yeah, leveraged, so. Exactly.
That's their returns.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's move on to some macro stuff. I can't remember why I put this in here. Probably has something to do with the fact that
PE is still
the S&P 500 PE, it usually comes down. So you can see when bonds move in that direction, the PE usually goes in the opposite direction, and that hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened. I suppose, one way the PE gets smaller is we might have an earnings boom, and the PEs just compress because the prices don't actually go up. They just stay flat, and we have an earnings boom, or maybe, maybe prices need to fall.
And in the US,
that earnings aren't, they're not exactly breaking out. Yeah.
And in the US, it's not as big a problem.
Go ahead.
Because the customer is a little bit stronger because they're all in fixed rates as well. So I can understand why it isn't so direct there, but at some point, even Buffett says, gravity and all that with interest rates, that has to happen at some point, but yeah, not currently.
No, it doesn't want to happen. What? We'll see. I thought this was an interesting one. Leading indicator, trucking employment.
Okay.
Look at that. It's turned down prior. I guess in the early 2000s, it didn't actually turn down before the recession. It just sort of flattened off. But in 2008, it certainly did. 2020, I don't like 2020 included in these charts. It's just, such an artificially induced thing, but anyway, same sort of thing. And it's turned down in a big way. It's got to mean something. It's about parcels moving around the country, and if there's less of that going on,
it is artificially high there, but so maybe it's coming back to more of a mean. I don't know, but it goes back to the 90s. So I don't know what. We got 5 points here, something to look at. So I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. With these things, you have like 4 data points, and then think you can predict what's going to happen. That's a bit foolish, but that's all we got to go on.
Yep,
that's all we've got.
Mm-hmm.
This was in Australia. So share of large builders with negative cash flows is it's pushing. It's a third. It's probably a third, probably slightly more than 30. And share of trade credit builders owed to suppliers, more than 3 months overdue. Pretty high. I saw today, actually, there was a story out saying the most bankruptcies since, not just in building, just across the economy in general, since 2015, which is, it's like, big deal. It's only 8 years ago. It'll start to matter if we get more bankruptcies in, say, 2008, 2009. Then we're talking.
Remember, we had a 2-year hiatus as well, where no one could go bankrupt. So, if you just
that's right,
push them forward.
We're just getting back to trend. Getting back to trend. Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretty sure they're all under at that period. It's just no one could declare bankruptcy, so you got free money coming in. So I don't know.
Yeah, but it doesn't really augur well for the fact we've got a housing shortage, and they say let's build more houses and more builders. Like 2 things: there's builders going out of business, and the other builders. Negative cash flow means it's unprofitable to build houses.
Inflation.
Know.
Who would have thought inflation has so much of a problem?
I don't. I would have thought that by now we'd gotten through that sort of period where they, like people put deposits down on houses, and then you got the explosion in prices, and the builders went, because most of them build in to their contracts that they can get out of it or raise prices to reflect those facts. So I don't know. They just can't manage their money or something. I don't know. That was just another. That was from Chris Joy, Coolabah Capital.
Okay.
So corporate insolvencies. Again, it's not that high. That thing that you just said about no one was allowed to go bankrupt. You can see that pretty clearly on the graph. Up here at 2020. And we've really just got back to trend, I suppose. It's still heading in the wrong direction. Construction's, although has never been this bad as far as the data goes back. So all this is to say that the exact same thing we've been saying for 6 months. Nothing's getting better anytime soon. Unemployment rate. Employment was out today. Unemployment rate went down. Remember, Scott said the unemployment rate was going to be 4% by the end of the year. Geez, I'm starting to run out of runway here. Oh. Yeah. But so, I've got till January when the December numbers come out, but it's not looking good for me. But I think, it's only a matter of time. This is headed up. Tim.
They're not going to lift the rate, but the RBA is not going to lift. They're not going to do anything. So, I don't know. Why do we worry about numbers anymore? Just like, I don't know. Yeah.
They don't mean anything, do they?
No.
They don't mean anything. PEs don't mean anything.
No.
Inflation doesn't mean anything. RBA rates don't mean anything. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. All right. So let's have a look at, you're doing ResMed, an Australian company. I mean,
you did hassle me about it. And so I thought, we really should look in our backyard occasionally. And so if anybody doesn't know, ResMed is basically a medical device company that helps people with sleep apnea. It is currently down 35% over the last year due to increased competition and the rise of Ozempic, the wonder weight loss drug. In 2015, it owned about 45% of the market, with 30% at Philips and 12% at Fisher & Paykel. By my numbers, ResMed is about 40% now, and Philips is about 35%. About 40% of obese people have sleep apnea. So, and 31% of the Australian adults are obese. So
is that all? I was at a shopping centre today, and it felt like more than that.
Yeah, that's obese. There's overweight as well. So overweight's not healthy, but obese is like above 45, I think, BMI, or something like that. So
it might only be 35, I think.
Is it 35? Oh, okay. Yeah. So, so it's a huge market. People using Ozempic lose about 6% of their body weight in the first year of use. So it's not a huge amount they lose. So even if you were in the obese category and you lost 6% of your body weight, like, it's pretty likely you're still going to be obese at the end of the year.
Yeah, if you're 100 Ks, so that means you're 94 after the first year.
Yeah,
it's not much, is it?
No, and so if you're 150, you like it's like you take 6% off that, you're not much. So
9 kilos, you're 150 to 141.
Okay, well done. Yes, which helps, but I'm just saying it's not like you're going to be coming off sleep apnea or and that's assuming that all these people are taking it. So I think the market's going to be pretty healthy for many years. So it's not a total disaster for ResMed, as this isn't reality. And let's have a close look at the stock. Shares are slightly diluting, which is a bit of a concern. Employees are growing, but in line with revenue, which is good. On a PE basis, it hasn't been this cheap in 7 years. On a price to free cash flow basis, it's only been 15% cheaper once. Return on invested capital is on the higher end of average, but it's choppy, especially over the last few years, which is a bit of a red flag. Margins are generally great and stable. Growth is in the ballpark of Microsoft and Visa and MasterCard, so, pretty good. A small dividend with a great payout ratio. If we flip over the balance sheet and cash flow, we can sort of see that it's got 1.35 billion in net debt. And in the last year, they added about 700 million to long-term debt, so that's not good. But if we look at the cash flow, we can see they can easily cover this, even if they do have a bit of a slowdown. So the question currently is, how much will Ozempic impair ResMed? My guess is about 30%, but even if it does, that's not going to happen overnight. The number of obese people is growing, and that'll eat into that decrease also. For me personally, I think it's a good business, but not a great business, as it doesn't have a high and consistent return on invested capital. So it's a tier 2 for me, which means they need to get a 15% discount to get to that 6-year price to free cash flow. plus another 20% because it's not tier 1. So that's a 35% discount from today, which is $142, which gets you under $100 per share. Scott, you might be nicer than me. What do you think?
Yeah. So, what you said about Ozempic makes me think that it's not as big a deal. I think I heard some commentary the other day that said 1/3 of their customer base are obese, and if what you said about it just, you lose 6% of your body weight in the first year, then, I mean, how, are you really knocking that many people out?
Yep. That's
right. Because it's not like, I mean, the way it's been sold down, it's like, oh, there goes 30% of their customer base. All the obese people are going to get thin, and then there's overweight people who, they're going to get, maybe they're going to get to normal weight. It's not clear to me. Now, there's side effects with those drugs as well, and I suppose if Ozempic works, they'll just keep coming out with better versions of it. But yeah, I mean, I think like, I think you said this to me before, but I mean, they've got 40% of a global market. That's not a bad position to be in, is it?
Yep.
Yeah, I think
even if that corrects to 25%, 25% of a massive market is still wonderful. Like, that's still, and I still think that the recommended device, if you've got sleep apnea and you go to the doctor, they say, what's the best you got? Like, and if you're a boomer and you've got tons of money, like, freaking hell, like, and this is the only major health thing besides being overweight, obviously, you're going to spend the coin on it. So it's just how far can it go down? I'm greedy, obviously, but that's just my nature. Like, so
I might not need the size of discount that you do. Maybe, maybe just 20% down from here and I'd be in. Yeah. But no, I mean, it's worth looking at, isn't it? I mean, it's hard to find quality in Australia because there's not much quality in Australia. And but this is, I mean, it's, as you say, it's not top quality. It's not, it doesn't have those excellent returns on capital. I mean, they're above average, but they're not brilliant, are they?
And they're choppy, which is
choppy,
like, are you going to sit in a choppy zone for 5 years? You're not going to do that. So, I think I like them because they sort of stick to their lane a fair bit. Like, I don't think they're going to come out and, do a smartwatch or some crap like that, so, like some of these companies, we've got a bit of cash, let's go do something with it. I think these guys will pay down debt and expand markets, and especially as Asia gets richer, we've got all that coming on board. So, I think the whole world is getting fatter, I'm afraid. So,
yeah.
I don't think it's a market going anywhere. I don't
think that, it's not exactly a trend that's going to reverse very quickly, is it? No. Unlikely. No, that's not a bad one. It's worth having a look in our own backyard occasionally, even if it is pretty bare. So there you have it, folks. That's ResMed RMD, listed on, I suppose it's listed in the States as well, isn't it?
They actually put it as a US company now. So.
Oh, do they? Because it's based in the US, maybe.
Yeah, and if you want to buy any ResMed stuff, it's actually cheaper to buy it from the US and then import it into Australia, then buy it in Australia.
Of course it is. Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. All right, there you have it, people. Take a look at ResMed, and we will see you next time.